What up, everybody? Jazari Qual, welcome back to the show. Long time since, well, actually, not a long time. It's been relatively short time. I mean, like a couple of weeks since I've done a live stream, but I figured I would come on here. I do have a special guest who is actually on the podcast on the episode that dropped today to kind of break down Trump's speech and kind of do a little bit of analysis and commentary on kind of the state of everything. This is equivalent to a State of the Union, but since it is the very first address, they just call it the first address to Congress during the term. So I'll bring on our guest and the other live stream. Edward, thank you so much for joining. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Jazari?
Pretty good. Now, Edward is getting ready to go to DC. We were just talking about that before the show went live. Don't forget to go to the Library of Congress.
Yes, I need to do that. I hope there's time to do that. I've never been. I've been to DC a number of times for school field trips and all kinds of things, but I've never been to Library of Congress.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. So here we have members of Congress. The U.S. Senate just arrived in the House of Representatives chambers. Vice President J.D. Vance is present. You see a lot of familiar faces. It looks like a lot of women on the Democratic side are wearing pink. And yeah, what's your take on these types of addresses? What do you think he's going to talk about?
Well, I'm sure he's going to talk about the border. I'm sure he's going to talk about the tariffs. I'm sure he's going to talk about Ukraine. But I also want to say that room, it looks so big with all those people in it, but it is a lot smaller in person.
You been in there?
Yes, I have. If you go to DC and you're a Nebraskan, you have to be a Nebraskan. Mike Flood, I think he does. I can't remember if it's Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights, but Mike Flood gives a late night tour of the Capitol. Then he will take you into the Senate. You have to take off your smartwatch and you have to take your phone out of your pocket and leave all that stuff outside. But he'll give you a tour and you get to go actually into the chamber, the House of Representatives chamber, where the House.
I feel like that's a secret.
Yeah, it is. It's a well-kept secret, but if you're a Nebraskan, Mike Flood will give you a private tour of the Capitol, and he is very knowledgeable about the state the U.S. Capitol, the grounds, the history of the building, all the little nooks and crannies and things. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just contact his office.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. I will definitely try to do the next time. We just saw Elon Musk on screen, who has been ever
Senator
present.
Ricketts.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
See Jasmine Crockett. You know, the wild thing is that there's not a lot of recognizable people in these crowds. Like I see Lauren Boebert, and Trump's family, but for the most part, a lot of members of Congress maybe are obviously well known in their district, but there are just a handful that are kind of like nationally known.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say that Pete Ricketts is one of them.
It's so hard. It's so hard to be like objective about your own state's congressional and senatorial representatives because you see them on TV a lot. Right. They're always on your local stations and stuff. I don't know. I don't know how well known they are, like nationally.
I guess I look at it from the perspective of just like watching, national news and those national outlets and seeing how often they are on there because they usually have specific or just a handful of federal representatives that are always coming on those shows. So yeah, I'm curious.
I feel like of the Nebraska delegation, Don Bacon's probably the most well-known outside of the state.
I would agree.
I've seen him in some posts that like non-Nebraskan friends have shared on Facebook about like, Don Bacon stands up for Ukraine, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, and oftentimes it's just like one issue that does skyrocket them to things. Not saying Ukraine is the one thing that made him get there, but some members put themselves kind of on the front lines of some issues, and that really takes them to the next level. And Really gets him out there. Addie Reese.
You know more of these people than I do.
You said what?
You know more of these people than I do.
Of the in Congress?
Yeah.
To the chamber, the following. The gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise. The gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer. The gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McClain. The gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Reschenthaler. The gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore. The gentlewoman from Indiana, Mrs. Houchin. The gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Hearn. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries.
Have you ever met Mike
Gentleman
Johnson?
from Massachusetts, Miss Clark.
Never have.
Gentleman
No.
from California, Mr. Aguilar. Gentleman from California, Mr. Liu.
Either he's
Gentleman from
kind of
Colorado, Mr. Nagoose. The gentlewoman from Washington,
shorter, or
Ms.
JD
Delbene.
Vance is just tall.
The gentlewoman from
can't
I think
Michigan,
it's a little bit of
Mrs.
both.
Dingle.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
The President of the Senate.
This is very
at the
familiar
direction
because
of
in the
that
Nebraska
body,
legislature, when the
appoints
governor gives the
following
state of the
senators
state,
as
or
members of the committee
the
on
chief
the part of the
justice gives the
Senate
state
to
of the
escort the
judiciary,
President of the United States.
anyone who's not a
into
member of the
House
legislature
chamber.
has to be
The
escorted
senator
onto the
from
floor of
South
the
Dakota,
legislature.
Mr. Thune.
And they'll
The
appoint a
senator from
committee
Wyoming,
of
Mr.
senators
Barrasso.
to escort them
The senator
on and
from
off of the
Arkansas,
legislative
Mr. Cotton.
floor.
The senator from Oklahoma, Mr. Langford. The senator from West Virginia, Mrs. Capito. The
It's a
senator
whole
from
to-do.
South Carolina, Mr. Scott.
I'm guessing, are they just doing
The
a roll
senator
call?
from New York, Mr. Schumer. The
No, they're
senator
naming
from Illinois, Mr. Durbin.
the escort
from
committee,
Minnesota,
the
Ms.
senators and
Klobuchar.
representatives who will escort the
The
president
senator from
onto
New
the
Jersey,
floor of
Mr. Booker.
the chamber.
The senator from Wisconsin, Ms. Baldwin.
Okay. I wonder how they pick who does
The
that.
members of the escort committee will exit the chamber through the lobby doors.
I don't know. I never found, my boss never did it. I think it's like a volunteer thing. Like, hey, who wants to do this? A bunch of people are like, I don't want to do it. And then like 7 people do, but you only have 6 slots. So then like your favorites get to do it. I don't know. That's my guess.
What is the size comparison of this chamber to the unicameral floor?
They're honestly probably about the same size. I want to say like the unicameral is deeper this way and narrower this way. And the House chamber is wider and shorter. But it also has
Gotcha.
that big balcony that goes all the way around. And the legislative floor, the Nebraska legislature has the 3 balconies. So
Yeah, but not continuous.
The Dean of the
Not
Diplomatic
continuous.
Corps.
Lauren Boebert. She took a big risk running in a different district than she was in.
yeah, she doesn't live in her district, and that's usually not popular.
I think she said she moved to it, but I mean, who knows?
Did she move
I mean,
there? Okay.
she does have a
guess I
whole
think when she-
restaurant and a business.
Yeah, because I think when she first filed, at least she didn't live in that district.
I don't see I only saw Pete Ricketts from the Nebraska
Yeah, I
delegation.
don't see Senator Fisher. I see the Joint Chiefs. I don't see the Supreme Court. The justices.
Are they present for this?
I feel like they usually are for State of the Union, but this isn't technically a State of the Union. It's just a address to a joint session of Congress. So
Yeah.
maybe they don't come to
And
this
they're
one.
usually in the very front.
Yeah, right at the front in their big black robes. And then I love that quote from the late Justice Ginsburg, who said, "We sit there as these stone-faced, sober judges, but we aren't. At least I wasn't always 100% sober." Like, you know what?
She
All right,
said that.
Ruth, I see you. I see you. I can get on board with that. Get a little tipsy for the State of the Union. All right. Yeah, it sounds like they pregame. That was a secret of the Supreme Court that was leaked by Justice Bader Ginsburg.
I think he's also going to talk about Doge and Elon
Supreme
Musk.
Court.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Oh, the Supreme Court. There they are.
Oh, they get their own special entrance and applause.
Kagan. Kavanaugh. Conor Barrett. The Supreme Court is such an interesting place because, like, you have Chief Justice Roberts, but he's not really. Wait, that's Chief Justice. Who is that next to him?
He's got the cane.
That's what I'm saying. Who is that?
I'm not knowledgeable enough about the Supreme Court to know which one is the guy with the cane. I skipped out of law school for a reason.
Wait, there's people missing.
Yeah, there's only like 5 of them.
Yeah, 4 people are missing.
That's an interesting statement.
I didn't see Sotomayor. I didn't see Jackson. I didn't see
Is Roberts there?
Roberts is there. He's
Oh, yeah,
in
there
between.
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was that with the cane? Are the Senate and House chambers, they're just right directly across from each other in the rotunda, right?
They're on opposite ends of the Capitol building. So
I mean, that seems like a long walk. Do you think there's a tunnel that runs from the Supreme Court down under the Capitol?
I bet there is. DC is so like replete with tunnels that I'm
And I
sure
guess it
there's
was-
like a secret tunnel.
Yeah, and I think it was a strategic, like, it was a strategic tactic. Right? Like, the way that DC was constructed. I mean, like, when you walk through the streets of DC, it's, like, easy to get lost. So what I remember reading or learning about that was when they built it and everything, it was a way to... It was like an invasion defense, I guess, is what people looked at it to be. Oh, Nancy Mace's boots. You do have a little bit of a delay, though.
Do I? Video or audio?
So the video is delayed. The audio comes through right away, but the video is like delayed like a couple of seconds.
I'm just on the webcam from my laptop.
We are a minute late.
Come on, get it together, government.
Right.
Those are some
yeah.
boots on Nancy Mace.
Yeah. Those are not pretty. But yeah, I see a lot of blue and yellow. I don't know who this is. I don't know. I don't know how much of it. I mean, like, there's like this whole art behind dressing in politics and like how what you wear and how you dress is supposed to convey a message, depending on what it is. So I saw some people dressed in like the Ukrainian colors and stuff. And that's been a fascinating discussion to see how people have been reacting post the White House meeting that didn't go so well.
Yeah, I mean, that whole meeting was so upsetting because every time I've ever seen Zelensky in public, he's thanked the United States for all their support, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Vance, I think it was Vance, had said that he wasn't grateful, and then Trump echoed that and said he wasn't grateful, and he didn't say thank you. And
Yeah, which was kind of disheartening. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend was asking him why he wasn't wearing a suit. However, I mean, the dude's country is like under like attack right now, you know? So I think it would be kind of funny of him to, you know, be dressed up in like designer clothing and going to these meetings. That, you know, it's much more of like solidarity. Oh, look, a cat.
That's Josephine. I named her after Josephine Baker.
Josephine seems camera shy.
She is a little camera shy. No, but I saw a post the other day apropos of this. It was a picture of Winston Churchill in fatigues meeting with FDR at the White House. And it was like Winston Churchill didn't wear a suit to the White House because his country was at war and he was in fatigues. And that's kind of Zelensky's vibe, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, like, obviously has lots of suits, could wear whatever, you know, but it would seem kind of weird. And Winston Churchill's like famous outfit, the siren suit, the red one that he wore.
yeah.
The First Lady has just entered. She looks nice.
Always.
What'd you say?
She's always fashion forward.
Except at the inauguration. I said it. I said it during the live stream inauguration coverage. I'm like, I wasn't a fan of her inauguration outfit. Her 2017 inauguration outfit was nice, but this one wasn't so hot. But she looks good here.
That hat was definitely something at the inauguration this year.
And, you know, there was an article that came out, and it was kind of, it had, oh.
Speaker, the president's cabinet.
Oh, it's just the cabinet. They don't know.
Marco Rubio. Walk in first. But yeah, there was like she was quoted somewhere. Somebody was like, oh yeah, you know, I spoke with the First Lady and she has no desire to return to the White House and things. So that's always like stuck with me. So when I was curious to see, because she was barely on the campaign trail this past Pete Hegseth, this past campaign election cycle, she wasn't really visible out there. And then when she pulled up to the inauguration, that was like the first time I had seen her since the RNC. And I was like shocked. me and Tommy were watching and we're just like, wait, who is that? And then I was like, wait, I think that's Melania Trump. So that was quite a sight to see the way that she dressed for that. Because I mean, presidential inauguration outfits are pretty like memorable. Like people tend to remember and like reflect back on those outfits. It's one of those events, you know?
Like, you know, Jackie Kennedy, everybody remembers. People like us who weren't even born then have seen pictures of what she wore to JFK's inauguration.
Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. What are your thoughts of Tulsi Gabbard being a former elected Democrat of Congress, switching over and now being in the cabinet of a Republican president?
You know, it's a funny story. I have served in the uniformed services with people who have served with Tulsi Gabbard, and all of them had nothing but high praise for her. And so when I know somebody who knows somebody, I tend to take my friend's word for it. So I do have a pretty high opinion of Tulsi Gabbard. I think that she really bucked her party on a lot of things that were not popular. And I think that was really brave of her.
Yeah. She's very anti-war, which a lot of people, you know, appreciate. I mean, she was in she did this podcast and, you know, she was like, you know, boots on the ground is like the very, very last thing that you should do, not something you should run to, you know. That should only be the case when all other efforts have been exhausted and failed. But she's very anti-war. And she talked about that on that podcast. I think it was with Chris Williamson. Very insightful. You should check it out.
And she did deploy to, I can't remember if it was Iraq or Afghanistan, but she did deploy to a combat zone while she was in the reserves. And having myself also been boots on the ground, I strongly agree with that anti-war sentiment. Like that should be the last option after everything has been exhausted. And I'm glad to have a voice like that in the president's ear.
Yeah, I'm curious now to know what the conversation was like when he met with the cabinet post the meeting with Zelensky. I mean, saying you're gambling with World War III. I'm very curious to see like what we'll probably never hear, but like I'm curious of what the conversation was like with Tulsi Gabbard and kind of what her reaction was.
I would love to have been a fly on those walls.
Linda McMahon. When he
Yeah.
nominated her for education secretary, there were those viral videos of her during WWE time getting body slammed, like, when they act out the skits and stuff.
I didn't see those.
You didn't see that? It was like her
No.
getting slapped by her kid and body slammed by somebody, and people were like, this is the nominee for education secretary. It was wild.
Okay.
It was wild. I will say I am concerned about RFK Jr. and his role, especially because this new measles outbreak that just happened in Texas.
I
don't
did
know.
agree with you on that until this week when he came out and encouraged people to go get vaccinated for measles.
He did. I did not hear that.
Yeah, I think it was an op-ed in some paper, but he has said that like the measles, he's a vaccine skeptic, but he's not a vaccine opponent, I guess. Which I had always taken him to be vaccine opponent.
Me too.
And he has said like, oh, the measles vaccine is not one of the bad ones, so go get it. And I'm like, all right, we've got a measles out. I don't think any of the vaccines are bad. I get all the vaccines every year. One, because the Army makes me, and two, I don't want to get sick. I don't like being sick. It's not fun to be sick. So I get all the
Not at
vaccines
all.
every year.
Right.
And I haven't been sick since I've started getting all the vaccines. But RFK is he's more of a skeptic than an opponent, I guess, is kind of what's come out in the last just like week or so. But he has been a little more clear about the measles vaccine being not one of the bad ones. And like there are not bad ones. There's no thimerosal, whatever it's called, in vaccines anymore. That mercury derivative that they put in vaccines back in the 80s. It's just not a thing anymore. All the studies that showed ostensibly that vaccines were linked to autism have been debunked.
Right. During his confirmation, Mitch McConnell was the only Republican to vote against his confirmation. And Mitch McConnell is a polio survivor,
Yes.
And so that carried a lot of weight. Someone did leave a comment. Somebody in a Twitch stream I'm watching also said they think Trump wants to try and leave NATO. Thoughts? I'm not very well versed on these treaties and things like that. And you're like a World War I like buff is what you said. And this is like post World War II. So I mean, I don't have like any thoughts that would probably be educated enough on that. However, I have seen people complain about the NATO budget and how the U.S. contributes so much to it. But then I did see like an analysis breakdown of what that percentage is in relation to your country's GDP or revenue or like your country's wealth. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of how much the U.S. has to spend compared to the other countries in NATO, we don't contribute very much. It's a vanishingly small percentage. Now, the real issue when it comes to NATO is what percent of GDP you're spending on defense. The U.S. spends more on defense than the next 10 countries combined or something like that. We lead the world in defense spending, which is great. And a lot of NATO allies are not spending. I can't remember if there's a general agreement within NATO that you should be spending a certain percentage of GDP on defense, and some of our NATO partners are not spending that. I don't really care that much that they're not contributing X amount of dollars to NATO. We could entirely fund NATO ourselves, and it would be a drop in the ocean in terms of our budget to pay for actually like the cost of running NATO as an organization. But in terms of defense spending, that's the real concern. And I do share President Trump's concerns that a number of our NATO allies are not spending on defense what they really ought to be in a world where China and Russia are resurgent.
Yeah, I think I would agree with a lot of that analysis. Where is everybody at? Come on, this is unacceptable. It is 8:13 Central Time.
Oh, so the gavel came down.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Here we go. Now we're rolling.
He's going to be wearing a blue suit with a red tie. Watch.
Ooh. Here's Lily.
Oh,
The
hi,
real star
Lily.
of the show.
Oh, look at that. I was right. I mean, maybe not complete red, but more of a burgundy color.
It's almost a purplish tie.
Like a plum, right?
Yeah, it looks plum on my screen. Like the fist bump. No point to that, but you know, we'll fist bump people.
Notice how he is not acknowledging anyone on the other side.
Yeah, you see that? Oh, here's MTG. The Trump was right about everything hat. Another fist bump. Fist bump.
Did you see that sideways look? Oh, man. No, not the FaceTime. He has somebody on FaceTime.
FaceTiming his granddaughter.
Nancy Mace. I mean, not even like a wave to the other side. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you see that in Nebraska too. Not to this extent though. You know, you'll when the governor comes in to give the State of the State address, you'll have a few Democrats who will just sit down and not get up at all. A few come up to shake his hand, and he'll shake their hands. But I don't think they want to shake his hand.
I mean,
I
at
don't
least
think
like
Chuck
wave.
Schumer.
Like,
You're looking at Chuck Schumer there. I don't think he wants to shake Trump's hand.
Chuck Schumer has been a disappointment lately.
I love Jon Stewart's Chuck Schumer impression. It's so funny.
Jon Stewart's
It's too
hilarious.
Jewy for a white man like me to do a good impression of it, but Jon Stewart nails it.
John Roberts. We have Supreme Court justices missing.
We do. I want to know about that. I want to like Google that tomorrow morning.
I don't know. I think he should wave to the other side. At least acknowledge them. Because, I mean, like, you're the leader of the American people. You know, like, come on.
I think it's probably not worth the risk of like going in for the handshake of the other side and then they leave you hanging and the president didn't get a
Well,
handshake.
I mean, not even that. I just mean he could just be like,
Yeah, he could
that's
wave.
it. Yeah, just be
100%
like,
he could wave. Now we're on to the Joint Chiefs. General so-and-so, General so-and-so. look at all
what
the
did you think
stars.
of, what did you think of General Brown getting
J.Q.
removed?
Brown?
Yeah, so the New York Times did a really good podcast episode on that on the Daily.
I'm a little
they
baffled
really-
by it because Pete Hegseth had high praise for him after he was fired, which just struck me as weird.
Yeah.
You know,
And he was a very accomplished,
fighter pilot,
yeah,
all that good stuff.
somebody has said, has he said anything? No, Desiree, he has just arrived to the podium. As you guys can see, the entire chamber is filled. We did note that some people are missing, most notably Supreme Court justices, 4 of them to be specific. I'm guessing the balcony is full of guests of the different members of Congress. So, yeah. Why can't I be a photographer there? How fun would that be? I get to go to the legislature, which is,
Still pretty cool.
yeah, still pretty cool. The unicameral floor, walking into the legislative chamber the first time was just like a whoa type feeling. Being in the balcony is like a whoa type feeling. Then, being under the balconies is just like, oh my goodness. But when you actually walk onto the floor and you can feel the slope down and you just feel the grandeur of it, it was a very I remember, and it was Senator Wayne who pulled me on the floor because I had a question for him and he told me just to come up to his desk and just looking around, I was just like, wow, this feels amazing.
Yeah, I definitely miss it. It's weird not being able to be on the floor after 8 years of
Speaker
being able
Johnson.
to just walk on there whenever I wanted.
Vice President Vance, the First Lady
Here
of the
it
United
goes.
States.
I think that's her guest next to her. One of those 2 young women.
She was gonna her guest was gonna be a victim of revenge porn this year.
That's what I guess. Or maybe
That's
that whole...
that's one of her big issues this year
Members
is revenge
of the
porn.
United States Congress, thank you very much.
Maybe she brought more than one
And to
person.
my fellow citizens, America is back.
I can't imagine how exhausting it is to be in the. Doesn't matter what the president is, but just to be in the right party during State of the Union, having to stand up so many times, so many standing ovations. I do love a good USA chant.
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's hat is kind of sending me.
I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
Oh,
Salty.
this is giving that scene in Mean Girls.
I know. I wish people still fought on the floor of the Senate. You know, like no one gets their ass beat with a cane anymore.
And won counties in our country.
used to happen.
2,700
Seriously?
to 525.
Pre
On a
Civil
map
War.
that reads almost completely red for
I mean, I don't think,
Republican.
I wouldn't say it was a mandate. I mean, it wasn't over 50%. Somebody was like anything over 50%.
Now, for the first
but
time in modern history, more
Like-
Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever. Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded.
Mr. President.
A 41-point jump.
I don't think I've seen this before.
Members
They're
are
out of order.
directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning.
Ooh, that's your warning. Ooh.
Members
Spicy.
are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant at Arms to restore order to the joint session.
What does that mean? Like, physically remove
This-
them? They can't physically remove
Yes,
them, can they?
yes. The Sergeant at Arms, as directed by the Speaker of the House, is empowered to remove members. Nebraska legislature too. It just never happens. Also, like if you don't check out and you drive back to Omaha and you miss a vote, they can empower the state patrol to arrest
Green,
you and
take
bring
your
you
seat.
back to vote.
Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant at Arms to restore order.
This I've never
This
seen
gentleman
this
from the
before.
chamber.
Me neither. Are they going to show them physically removing him?
I kind of hope so.
I think they're just going to talk to him.
Nope, they're escorting him from the chamber.
Members are directed
like
to
this.
uphold and maintain decorum in the House.
I don't like
Mr.
this.
President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
I don't know, man. I mean, oh. I'm very nervous about these tariffs.
In fact, it has been
Me too.
stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many.
I will say, remember the
And
time when
what
Obama
makes
was
it
giving the
even
State of the
more
Union and that guy
impressive
stood up
is
and yelled,
that-
"You lie!"
Do you know who number two
But
is?
they gave him a warning and then
George
he shut up.
Washington.
So they didn't
How
have
about
to
that?
escort him off the floor.
How about that? I don't know about that list.
I don't remember that. I need to take.
But we'll
I need
take
to look
it.
at that.
Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever.
I don't like that
They
somebody
heard
got
my
removed.
words and they chose not to come. Much easier.
Well, they gave him a warning.
In comparison, under
They're
Joe
like,
Biden,
you need to be
the
maintained
worst
decorum.
president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal
I mean, I
crossings
guess it
a
just-
month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
What does those signs say?
Musk steals, save Medicaid,
Protect veterans.
protect veterans.
So, Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America?
Okay, well, you should have waved.
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
I mean, you should have acknowledged him when you walked in. Like, you get what I'm saying? I don't.
Yeah, it's just tradition, you know. Like Biden didn't wave to the right side of the aisle when he came in. He just shook the hands of.
But
Chairman
that's a
Pelosi.
like that's a
Every day my
bad tradition because
administration
you know
is fighting
they
to
give their
deliver
I agree.
change
inaugural
America
speech. I'm
needs
going to be a
to
president for
bring a
everybody. Like
future
then
that
actually
America
do that.
deserves, and we're doing it.
Everybody like do
This
that.
is a time for big
Yeah.
dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid.
Have you seen the impacts that has had of people who have like got job offers, sold their house, getting ready to move to wherever the case may be, and then their offers get rescinded and they're kind of
I
just left in
terminated
limbo?
the ridiculous green
Yeah, I have a friend who
scam.
works for
I
NASA
withdrew
who
from
had just
the
gotten a
unfair
promotion, and
Paris
then it was
Climate
like,
Accord, which was costing us trillions
Wow.
of dollars.
she's real smart. She's got like 2
other countries
PhDs.
were
She's
not
like
paying.
stupid smart.
I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization.
Go, Joe.
Is that your cat?
And I also withdrew from
Yeah, one
the
of my cats.
Anti-American UN Human Rights Council.
The Human Rights Council is a joke. If you're gonna put
We ended
Saudi
all of
Arabia on the
Biden's
chairmanship of the
environmental
Human Rights
restrictions
Council,
that
like,
were making our country far less safe
okay,
and totally
It's-
unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction.
except then you undid it with the tariffs, so that's not super.
Yeah, dude, the stock market has been crashing.
To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term.
Don't
so,
hate that.
Mike, huh?
Don't hate that. Too
Mike
many
Johnson.
regulations.
And in that first term, we set records on ending
I'm just looking at his outfit. He
unnecessary
should have wore
rules and
either a
regulations
solid
like
blue
no
tie or
other
a solid red tie.
president
He
had
should not
done
have
before.
worn stripes.
We ordered all federal workers
Shows
to return to the
bipartisanship.
office they will either show up for work in person or be
heck is
removed
that?
from their job.
It shows bipartisanship.
And we have ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me.
Go, Joe.
How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good.
Come on, you can't say that.
What was this hand gesture that the one guy was doing?
I didn't
Who's
see
this?
that.
And I have stopped all government
One of the
censorship and
Republicans.
brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
What are your takes on that?
The Gulf of how does this lower grocery prices?
And likewise, I
Yeah.
renamed for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military.
Diversity, equity, inclusion has been completely
And
like
our country
redefined
will be woke
into something that
no
it's not.
longer.
Yeah. The problem with Democrats is they keep coming up with
We
new
believe that
acronyms.
whether you are a
and then those
doctor,
acronyms are
an
their
accountant,
downfall.
a lawyer, or an air traffic
Just pick
controller,
one word.
you should
Diversity.
be hired
No one can
and
oppose
promoted
diversity.
based on skill and
No one's going to
competence,
oppose
not
inclusion.
race
But then
or
you make it into
gender.
an acronym,
Very
DEI,
important.
and it's easy to oppose.
I mean, I don't know. I think
Acronym.
You should be hired based on merit.
I mean,
And the
it went
Supreme
from
Court,
CRT
in a
to
brave and
DEI.
very
I don't see anybody
powerful
talking about CRT
decision,
anymore.
Has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I said this. I say this all the time. It's there's
have removed the
after like
poison
what
of
for the
critical
midterms, it's
race
going to be
theory
something
from
else.
our
There's going to
public
be
schools.
another.
And I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports.
Do you know what I've always thought? So I mean, people focus on men playing in women's sports, but what if a girl just like came and like dominated on a football field?
3 years ago, Peyton
Like, would that be
McNabb
I would love that.
was
celebrated?
an all-star
I would love that.
high school athlete,
But
one of the best, preparing
I
for a
think
future in
what
college
it's
sports.
ignoring is
when
the
her
fact that
girls' volleyball
testosterone
match
has
was invaded by a
undeniable
male,
biological
he smashed
impacts
the
on
ball
musculoskeletal
so hard
development
in Peyton's
in the
face,
human
causing
body.
traumatic brain injury.
Like,
partially
I'm not afraid to say
paralyzing
that
her
trans
right
women
side
are women,
and ending
but
her athletic
trans
career.
women
It
probably
was
shouldn't be allowed to play
a
in women's
shot
sports
like she's never seen
because their
before.
levels of
She's never seen anything
testosterone are
like
so
it.
off the charts compared to your
Peyton is here
average
tonight
woman
in the gallery, and
that
Peyton, from now on, schools
people
will
could get
kick the
injured.
men off the girls' team, or they will lose
You know?
all federal funding.
I have n- I
I
have
don't know who
bar-
that is.
I think that's one of Usha Vance, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner. I have not seen these three people much.
And if you really want to see
I don't know anything
numbers,
about Usha Vance.
just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman.
Wait, hold on.
5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer.
Five hours. Hold on. Let me.
You want to live fact check it?
What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense
There's no
revolution that
documented-
is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world.
No.
Common sense has
That's
become
not-
a
that didn't
common
happen.
theme, and we will
5 hours?
never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen.
5 hours.
Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration
I'm going to get some more
an
water.
economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and
concern
millions
is,
of
or the question
Americans
is,
that
how
never
many-
had anything like it.
How
We
much
suffered
of
the worst inflation
what he
in
has done has
48
contributed
years,
to
but
try to
perhaps
bring down
even
lower costs for
in the
families like he's
history of
talking
our
about?
country, they're not sure. As
Oh, he hasn't
president,
done it.
I'm
Bring down
fighting every
costs for
day to
families.
reverse this damage and
But he keeps
make
bringing that up,
America
like-
affordable again.
Strengthen the economy and things. Did you see that Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan's show and said that Medicaid or Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme ever?
I mean, Social Security is
Joe
kind of a
Biden
Ponzi
especially
scheme.
let the price
You
of
think so?
eggs get out of control.
Yeah, because each generation
egg
pays into the
prices
previous
out of
generation's money that
control.
comes out,
And we're working
but it's never
hard to
fully
get it
funded
back down.
because the
Secretary, do a
government
good
took
job
money
on
out
that.
of it in the
You
70s,
inherited
80s, and
a total mess
90s
from the previous
for
administration.
bullshit.
Do a good job.
I mean, it's not. I'm not saying Social Security is bad.
A
Social
major
Security is a good
focus of our
thing.
fight to defeat
But
Yeah.
inflation
the way it
is
stands now,
rapidly
it's a Ponzi
reducing
scheme.
the cost of energy. The previous
It needs to be fully
administration cut
funded.
the number of
Well,
new
from what
oil
I've
and
heard,
gas
it's like,
sources by
look at somebody like Elon Musk, who's
95%,
worth
slowed pipeline
like the
construction
richest
to a halt,
person
and
in the
closed
world,
more than
pays in the same
100
percentage as somebody who makes like
power plants.
100
We are
million.
opening up many of those
So
So
he
there's
pays
like a-
far
plants
less
right now.
than someone who makes 100 million because there's a ceiling on how much you pay into Social Security, and that ceiling needs to be eliminated.
And frankly,
has-
we
Yeah,
have
like
never
the cap that
seen
needs to be lifted.
anything like it.
Yeah.
That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy
What are you drinking?
emergency.
Sparkling water. I won't say the brand.
As
Is
you've
it
heard me
flavored or
say many
unflavored?
times, we have more liquid
It's
gold
flavored.
under our feet than any nation
Is it
on Earth,
LaCroix?
and by far. And
Eh,
now
eh.
I fully authorize
No.
the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill Baby Drill.
Okay, so from what I've heard is they have given oil companies the green light to drill more. However, they're already drilling the most that they have ever have drilled. So it's like there's not much that.
My administration is also working on a gigantic.
I'm a big
natural
fan of
gas
Drill Baby
pipeline
Drill
in Alaska,
until we
among
can
the
get more
largest
nuclear
in
in
the world, where
place.
Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to.
What
be
about
our
other
partner
clean
with
energy?
Investments of trillions of
No
dollars
clean energy is
each.
better than
There's never been
nuclear.
anything like that one.
That's my hot
It will
take.
be truly
What about
spectacular.
nuclear
It's all
waste,
set to
then?
go. The permitting is gotten. And later
Modern
this
nuclear
week, I will
reactors
also
can
take
take
historic action to
nuclear
dramatically
material
expand
that
production
30 years ago
of
would have been
critical
considered waste and use it for
minerals
another
and
20
rare
years.
earths here in the USA.
No, nuclear is clean, green, lean, and mean. I'm a big
To
fan of
further
nuclear.
combat inflation, we will not only be reducing
You said
the
what?
cost of energy, but we'll be ending the
I'm a big
flagrant
fan of
waste
nuclear.
taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
Here we go. The camera's going to
Doge.
cut to Musk right now.
Perhaps
But he didn't create the department. Congress needs to create the department, which they should. I like Doge. I want to see Congress create it as an actual department.
Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
Okay, so I have a hot take on Elon Musk. If they're going to create, it needs to have an act of Congress. And he should be confirmed by the Senate because he gets a lot of money from the federal government in federal contracts. Like somewhere, I'll need to double check, but apparently he got like
Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard.
What,
He
like-
didn't need this.
tens of millions of more dollars since the inauguration.
Thank you very much. We
in government
appreciate it.
contracts.
Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe.
Yeah, I think it should be confirmed, and I think it should be a
They just don't want to
congressionally
admit
created
that.
organization.
Just listen to
But-
some of the appalling waste.
I like
We have already
some
identified
/ much of what they've
$22
done.
billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for
But some of the
illegal
stuff that
aliens.
they're taking credit for wasn't
$45
even like
million
they're
for
doing.
diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Like there was
No,
like a
and a lot
one
of
piece.
the-
scholarships in Burma.
A lot of the stuff they've claimed has
$40
turned out to be a
million
lot
improve the
smaller
social
than what
and
they claimed it
economic
was.
inclusion of
Yeah.
sedentary migrants.
Which is
Nobody
not
knows
cool.
what that
Like,
is.
come on.
Yeah.
$8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60
I've heard of
million for
Lesotho.
indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for
Is he
making
talking about
mice
Lesotho?
transgender.
Yeah.
This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male.
A lot of African
circumcision
countries
in
are extremely
Mozambique.
conservative and not
$20
open
million
at all to
for
LGBTQ
the
like
Arab Sesame
things.
Street in the Middle
Like there was an
East.
East African
It's a
country
program.
that passed
$20
legislation
million
like
for
a year or
program.
so ago. Like
$1.9 billion to
really
Rwanda.
cracking.
recently created
I don't know if it was Rwanda. I think it would have been like
Homes
Uganda, I
Committee,
think.
headed up
I may have mistook my
just at
Gondas.
the last moment the money was passed
But
over.
I mean like some countries I believe like that's like punishable by death, like on spot.
Yeah.
You know, so
There's a
the
lot of
fact
countries in Africa where being homosexual is like
yeah, so when I hear
Game
them
over.
say like, "Oh, they're promoting this stuff in Africa," I'm just like, "No, they're not," because that would never fly in African countries like that.
For social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well.
I refuse to believe that he's not reading off of anything. I feel like he's
local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving
Uganda.
public procurement in
That's how we
Serbia.
say it now. how we say it
$47
now.
million
It's Uganda.
for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's
Uganda.
doing very
Nothing wrong
well
with that.
learning.
Learning outcomes
I
in
don't know what
Asia.
we're
That's
doing.
nothing wrong.
We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, the most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated
know-
by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of
I
dollars
need to
of
okay, so
fraud.
where is all that money going to go?
Well, the U.S. government's in a deficit every year for the last like 25 years. So it's
I
not
mean, I
gonna
understand.
go anywhere. It's just going to be less. It's like if
And we've
you
taken back the
made
money
$10,000
and
a year,
reduced
but you
our
spent
debt to fight
$12,000 a year,
inflation and
you
other
found
things.
$500 a year you
Taking
could
back
save.
a lot of that money.
Well, I
We
get
got
that, but
just in
like-
time. This is just the beginning.
Oh.
The Government Accountability Office.
Elon Musk
Federal
has said something
Government
about like
Office,
returning
has
and like
estimated
$5,000
annual fraud
like
of over
stimulus checks back to the
$500
people because of the
billion
money
Oh,
that
I'm
they
so
cut.
down.
And we
Personally,
are
I'm
working
so
very
down.
hard to stop it.
As a
We're
fiscal
going to.
conservative, that's a terrible
We're
fucking
also
idea because we
identifying
need to
shocking
reduce the
levels of
deficit.
incompetence and probable fraud.
Edward,
in
this
the
is live.
Social Security program
Sorry.
for our seniors.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
seniors
just like,
and people
I
that
don't
we
want you to
love
say
rely
something where
on.
you're just like, oh my gosh, I
Believe
shouldn't
it
have
or
said
not,
that.
government databases.
No, I
list
just- I'm sorry, I
4.7
cursed.
million social
But as a
security
fiscal
numbers.
conservative, it's a terrible idea
people
because we need to
aged
reduce the deficit.
100
It
to
shouldn't go back to
109
Americans. It
years
should
old.
go to reducing the deficit.
It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be.
3.5 million
It's the way
people
he's saying it.
from ages 140
Oh, it is. Yeah.
to 149. And money is being paid to many of them, and we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out. to
Someone said
people
most of those people are serving in
because it
Congress
just
right
keeps
now.
getting
LOL.
Paid and paid, and nobody does, and it really hurts Social Security.
Oh,
hurts
Congress,
our
the most
country.
expensive
1.3
nursing home
million
America's
people
ever
from
had.
ages
Ain't that crazy?
150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I
He
thought,
said-
Bobby.
He said, I know a lot of older people, but not quite that old. He's like, he says some things that I'm just like, what did they say? Like, somebody asked him in that meeting with Zelensky, like,
1,039 people.
well, what
between the
happens if
ages
this?
of
He's like, well, what happens if a
220 and
bomb drops on your head?
229?
What then?
One
Like,
person between the age of 240
It would have
and
dropped on his head, too.
249, and one person is
Would be bad.
listed at
Would be bad. If
360 years
Secret
of
Service
age.
is watching. It would be bad.
More than
It would
100
be.
years. More than 100 years older than our country.
I can't.
But we're
So
gonna
apparently,
find
this
out where
whole
that money's
issue
going.
with people collecting Social
And it's
Security
not
that
going to
are
be pretty. By
older
slashing
than
all of the
dirt
fraud, waste, and theft, we can
is some
find,
kind of old
we will defeat
programming
inflation,
issue with
bring
like,
down mortgage
it's like a
rates, lower car
COBOL system
payments,
or
and grocery
some kind
prices,
of really old
protect our
programming
seniors, and
language
put
where
more
if they
money
didn't
Yeah.
know the
in the
person's
pockets
age,
of
they just
American
punched in like a
families.
random number, which was 1776 or something.
Yeah, but I heard it like automatically, the payments stop at a certain time, regardless.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Like, so there's like an age
Your
cutoff,
first
so
raise,
people
with a
really aren't.
beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop.
I mean,
Yeah.
are there probably a number of
the
people who are
near
collecting their
future, I
dead
want to
spouses'
do
Social
what has not
Security?
been done in
Yeah,
24
probably.
years.
Should we try to root them out? Absolutely. I don't think it's quite the numbers that are being touted by the administration.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you're 350 years old. Your great grand, kids are the ones collecting your Social Security check.
With that goal in
Yeah,
mind,
that-
we have developed
that-
in
Before
great
Social
detail
Security.
what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon.
I
Oh,
don't
the
like
gold
this
card.
idea.
$5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these
That's
people
like
gold.
will pay tax in
Turning
our
the U.S.
country.
into a country
They won't
club.
have
Like,
to
what do
pay
you think
tax
about
from
that?
where
Like,
they came.
selling.
The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that
This
you've
is the most
allowed
partisan
to
State of the
destroy
Union I've
our
ever
country,
seen.
We will now bring in brilliant,
That's what I'm saying.
hardworking,
Like, come on, man. Like,
creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money.
Hey, if it reduces the debt, I'm all for it. But I don't think there's going to be that many takers because there's
Americans
Ireland, there's Barbados,
have given us a mandate
there's
for bold and
St.
profound
Kitts.
change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown.
see, Edward, the
until
whole
it
thing
has
that I don't
crushed
get,
our
though, is
freedoms,
like,
ballooned our deficits,
why are they
and
trying to
held
get
back
this huge
America's
tax
potential
cut to the people
in
who are?
every possible
Did you see
way.
that they tried to pass an
nation
amendment
founded
to
by
increase the
pioneers
threshold
and
to people who made
risk-takers now drowns
up to
under
500
millions and
up to
millions of
$500 million
pages
and Republicans voted no on it?
regulations and debt. Approvals
I didn't
that
see that, no.
should take 10 days
But
to get.
like
Instead,
their
take
package,
10
that
years,
resolution, like
15
they
years,
want
and
to.
even 20
It's a
years
$4
before you
trillion
reject
tax
it.
cut.
Meanwhile, we have hundreds
So that's
of
why I'm just like,
thousands
I
of
can't
federal
take this like
workers who
Doge
have
thing
not
seriously
been
because
showing
it's
up
like
to work.
you're making all these
My
cuts to
administration
fund these
will
tax
reclaim
cuts.
power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again.
Who are those people on the left standing? Maybe they're overflow Republicans.
Well, I identify as
And
that.
any
I
federal
identify as an
bureaucrat
overflow
who
Republican.
resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
His inauguration speech was very. Did he just say unelected bureaucrats?
He did.
Like, you see her pointing? Pointing to Musk.
Who's pointing?
She was. Or.
And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people
Yeah.
on my
Tax
right,
cuts for everybody.
I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
Right. It was really disturbing watching the man be removed for not sitting. Yeah, I didn't.
Well,
like
he wasn't
that.
just not sitting. He was yelling. He was being disruptive.
Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous
I will
success
defend
in
that.
our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation.
Okay.
I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
The no tax on tips and no tax on overtime was actually a progressive policy that a lot of people ran on.
Yeah. To be fair, Trump did tout it first. Then Kamala
And I
said she would do
also
it after he said it
wanna
first.
make
No, I'm talking about in
payments on car loans
2022.
tax deductible,
during the
but only if
midterms.
the car is made
I
in
missed that.
America.
It's so hard to break up manufacturing of vehicles that are made in all of North America to just America.
And by the way, we're going to have growth in
To
the
just
auto
the
industry
US.
like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and
There are not
tariffs.
plants opening up
It's
all
a
over the
beautiful
place.
word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies.
How could there be plants opening
allow our
when
auto
you've been
industry
he's been
to
president for 6
absolutely
weeks?
Boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world.
Fact check. Honda has not announced the establishment of a
has
new
taken place
manufacturing
since our
plant in
great
Indiana.
victory on
However, they
November
have
5th,
decided to
a
shift
date which
production
will
of
hopefully
its
go
next
down
generation
as one
Civic
of the
hybrid
most
from
important
Mexico
in the history of
to
our
its
country.
existing facility in Greensburg, Indiana. A strategic move
Okay.
to avoid the
In addition,
impending
as part of our
25%
tax
U.S.
we
tariffs on
want to cut
imports.
taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100%
This wind outside is vicious.
expensing. It will be retroactive
it's wild.
to
This
January
weather's
20th,
crazy.
2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries
Okay,
have
this is
used
kinda
tariffs
long, isn't
against
it?
us for decades, and now it's our turn to start
What
using
time
them
is it?
against
It's
those
been about
other
it's
countries.
been less than an hour.
On average, the European Union,
Aren't they only like
China,
45
Brazil,
minutes?
India,
No,
Mexico,
usually
and
like an hour and
Canada.
a
Have you
half, 2
heard of
hours.
them? And countless
You're kidding.
other nations charge us tremendously
I think
higher
so.
tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st.
Is that his speech right there in front of him? He didn't
Wanna
even
be
open the
accused of
book.
April Fool's Day. That's
He's
that's
got,
not, just one day was cost us a
Teleprompter?
lot of money.
Teleprompters, thank you.
But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they
Wait, what?
tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's
Reciprocal tariffs,
back
April
and
2nd.
forth. Whatever they tax us.
He said, I'm a very superstitious
tax
person. I'm going April 2nd.
If they
So
do
April Fool's
non-monetary-
He
Day.
didn't want to do it on April Fool's Day,
To keep us
so as
out of
not to
their
be
market,
an April
then
Fool.
we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer.
I'm
Thanks
not
to
seeing
our
enough
America
action.
First policies we're putting into place, we have
Action.
had 1.7 trillion.
I mean, like
dollars
these
of new
executive orders,
investment
none
in
of it has to do with
America in
actually
just
lowering the
past
costs
few
and like
weeks.
doing the things that he says he wants to
Combination
do
of
to
the
help
election
people and the economy and stuff.
and our economic policies
I mean,
that
sparking a
people
trade
of
war isn't
SoftBank,
going to
one of the
help
most brilliant
anyone with
anywhere in the
anything.
world, announced a
What happens when the
$200
premier of
billion
Ontario, that very serious man, decides to shut off the
OpenAI
electricity
and
in New York
Oracle,
City
Larry Ellison,
or New York State? You know, like those
announced
northern
$500
bordering
billion
states.
investment, which they wouldn't
I could have sworn he said you guys are gonna feel this. You need to feel this
Apple
pain. And if they shut off the electricity, then
$500
what?
billion investment. Tim Cook
That would be tough.
crazy,
told
man.
me, he said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market. announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on Earth right here in the USA.
How long is this going to go on for?
It's hard to tell. He hasn't opened the book, so we don't know how many pages are left.
Well,
And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act
well, the other
is
thing is
a
too, we started
powerful
late, which is still
We give
unacceptable.
hundreds of billions
I'm going
of
to file a
dollars,
lawsuit about that.
and it
You guys
doesn't
did
mean a
not
thing.
start
They
on
take our
time.
money and they don't spend
You
it.
should.
All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people, and they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to. Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer.
Dude, did you know how like
now be
USAID
selling
was beneficial to
Into
like
our home
farmers
market,
here in the
USA,
Midwest?
because nobody is going to be able
Very
to compete
beneficial.
with you. Because there's
For those of you guys
They
who are
come
watching
in
that
from
don't know,
other
USAID would
countries and
purchase
companies
surplus of
who
crops
are
from farmers
really,
like
really
grain,
in a
corn, things
bad
like that to ship
position in
overseas
so
to
many
places
different ways.
experiencing
They're
famine.
uninspected.
Soybeans,
So-
They
wheat,
may be
rice.
very dirty and
Yeah, so
disgusting, and
instead
they
of,
come
you
and
know,
they pour in,
farmers in our
and they hurt
states
our
like having
American
to,
farmers. The
I don't know,
tariffs
burn or
will
like get rid of
go on
things,
agricultural product coming into
they
America,
actually
and
made money off
our
of that.
farmers starting
And,
on
you know,
April
people,
2nd. May
it was
be a
kind of a
little bit
win-win
of an
situation,
adjustment
right? So
period.
like farmers were able to
We
sell
had
the
that
surplus
before
and
when I made
things
the
and
deal with
make
China.
money or
$50
whatever for the
billion of
agriculture in the
purchases,
state,
but I
and
said,
then
"Just bear
people,
with me,"
you know,
and they
kids
did. They did.
around the world who
Although
needed
they have to bear with me.
nourishment
This will be even
received
better.
it
That
through
was great.
USAID.
The
So it's still
problem
kind of
was
like,
that Biden didn't enforce
in a
it.
way,
He didn't enforce it. $50 billion
it's still kind of
of
keeping the money
purchases,
in the country.
and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you.
And there
too.
have been farmers crashing out on
All gonna
TikTok
happen.
saying that they lost some contracts or things like that that just fell through that were put in place by the Biden administration.
And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military and frankly we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff.
Wow.
That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of foster kids. Good for him.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Look at the cowboy next to him. The cowboy
Thank you,
hat.
Jeff.
Texas, right?
Texas flag. That's what
Stories
that
like
shirt
Jeff's
is.
remind
yeah.
us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America
If you
great
guys
again,
shop
and
on
it's happening,
Amazon
and it will
like
happen
I do,
rather quickly. There'll be
a lot of the
some
stuff we buy
disturbance,
is made from China.
but we're
Oh, man.
okay with that. It won't be much. No,
Yeah.
we're not. Oh.
So the TikTok girlies who be
And
like,
look- and
Amazon
look what
finds,
Biden took us.
Amazon
Very low, the
finds,
lowest we've ever
best
been.
Amazon
Jeff, I
finds
wanna
for the
thank you very
season.
much. And I also want to recognize another person
in for a
who's
rude
devoted
awakening.
herself to foster
Especially
care
with the de minimis exemption
community. She
being
works so
knocked
hard
out.
on it. A very
With the
loving
what?
Person, our magnificent
The de minimis
First
exemption,
Lady of the United States.
which was anything under a certain dollar amount, wasn't. Tariffs didn't apply to any imports to the U.S. under a certain dollar amount. So you could buy like individual items from China that were $50, $100, $150. and the tariffs didn't apply to
Melania's
them.
work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders
And
as
that's
they
gone now.
enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by two impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to
Hey,
complete
stop
her
fighting.
education and become a teacher. And
My cats
Elliston
are
Berry,
fighting.
who became a victim of an illicit deep-fake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you.
Would you
Stand
say
up,
like
John.
if something passes in the Senate
you, John.
first, the House is more likely to pass it just because getting it through the Senate is harder?
Thank you all very much.
I feel like, yeah, but I'm not a close enough observer of the U.S. Congress
Thank you.
to speak confidently.
And
on
thank you
that.
to John Thune and the Senate. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such
But we should
images
criminalize-
online is terrible, terrible thing. And
What
once
he's
it
talking
passes the
about.
House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you.
Sir, who is posting
Nick is
this
talking-
dashboard on-
But if we truly care about,
think he's talking about that
protecting
video of Elon
America's
Musk
children,
sucking on his
no
toes.
step is more crucial than securing America's borders.
No, that was a
For the
real
past 4
thing. They
years,
put it
20
up
I
in
know.
the,
people poured into the United States.
But it's
Many
like-
of them
department.
murderers, human traffickers,
not sucking on
and
his
other
toes.
criminals from the streets of dangerous cities. All
Or
Even
him
famous
sucking
people
on-
deserve to be
These are
protected.
Joe Biden's
Him sucking on
insane and
Elon
very
Musk's
dangerous
toes is
open
what it
border
was.
policies.
And
They're
those
now
toes are probably
strongly
musky.
embedded in our country.
Oh,
we are getting them out
boo,
and
boo,
getting them
bad
out
puns.
fast.
He said, "I'm going to use it for myself."
And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to. Last year,
Look at all that
a
money.
brilliant 22-year-old nursing
Wealthiest
student
cabinet.
named Lakin Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Lakin was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Lakin was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Lakin's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Lakin's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act.
Which bill was that? Isn't that the one that kind of just like...
The Lakin Riley Act?
Yeah.
It's called the Lakin
Yeah.
Riley Act.
I'm
So
trying to
Allison
remember the
and
specifics
Lauren,
of it.
America will never, ever forget our beautiful Lakin Hope Riley.
Yeah, so if a illegal immigrant is detained for a violent crime, they're not eligible for parole or release because
I don't
that
even
guy
think if it.
was, and then he murdered
I found
her,
this on the web
and it was
for
bad.
illegal immigrants detained for a violent crime.
Obama,
Check it out.
damn it.
Since taking office, my
Well, I don't-
administration has launched
I
the
think,
most sweeping
yeah, like
border
violent
and
criminals,
immigration
but or
crackdown
people.
in American history.
But I
we
think like
quickly
what the
achieved
critics
the
were
lowest
saying is
numbers of
the language of
illegal
it was
border
like somebody
crossings
could be
ever
accused of something
recorded.
as like
Thank you.
shoplifting, and that would eliminate due process for them.
Well, unlawful immigrants are not entitled to the same due process that American citizens and legal residents are entitled to.
But I mean, even the sense of just like,
The media and our
I mean,
friends
accused,
in the
like,
Democrat
if,
Party
like,
kept
what
saying
that,
we needed
okay,
new
so I guess a
legislation,
better way
we
to
must have
articulate it was
legislation to
critics
secure
were
the border.
saying that
But it turned
it could
out
be
that
a
all we
way
really
to
needed
try to
was
target
a new president.
people that you know are undocumented. So, like, you could say, hey, I saw so-and-so stealing at this place, and, you know, that could get them removed expeditiously. I didn't catch what he said.
I missed it, yeah.
Joe Biden didn't
They're
just
chanting his
open our
name.
borders; he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools.
Have you
hospitals,
seen
and
State of the
communities
Unions where they
throughout
reference the
country.
former administration so
Entire
many
towns
times?
like Aurora, Colorado,
I have
or
not, no.
Springfield, Ohio, buckled
Because the way I look
under
at
the
it, it's
weight
just
of
like
the migrant occupation and corruption. Like
the shoe's on the
nobody's
other
ever
foot now,
seen
right?
before.
Like, you won the
Beautiful
election.
towns
Why do you
destroyed.
keep going
Now,
back?
just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great.
I think it's important to
liberation
create a
of America.
contrast. I think that's the point of it, is to create a contrast. I'm not saying that's the right answer, but I think that's the goal.
But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are two illegal alien
Some people I'm just
migrants
like,
from Venezuela.
How does your
Released
mind
into
even do
America
that? Like,
by
that
the
sounds like
last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis,
He's really
moments
proud of that.
ago, I formally renamed that
Yeah.
refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order? Thank you very much. All three savages charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much. Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war in America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing. Five nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into the USA. They're going to stop it. I
So
have sent Congress a detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record
like
holder.
90% of
President
fentanyl
Dwight
that
D.
comes into the
Eisenhower, a
country
moderate
comes through
man,
like
but
legal
someone who
ports of
believed very
entry.
strongly in
And
borders.
if I'm not
Mostly
mistaken,
Chinese
Expect
vectors.
Congress to send me this
Mostly
funding
what?
without delay so I can sign it into
Mostly
law.
Chinese
So,
vectors.
Mr. Speaker,
Chinese imported
include
products.
both of you.
And
I hope
also,
you're gonna be able to do that, Mr.
it was
Speaker.
like less
Thank you.
than 1%
Mr.
that
Leader,
came
thank
from
you.
Canada.
Thank you very much. And
The Canadians are just like, what did we
so
do?
fast, you won't even
I don't
believe
get
it.
what the Canadians did.
Justin Trudeau was like, we're nice and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight.
Yeah.
Ooh. Did you see that press
And
conference?
as we reclaim
It
our
did.
sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics.
See,
Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law, against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively.
He's getting into it. He's feeling himself. I mean,
restore
like,
fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck.
Pam, good luck.
Bond,
it's the second time he said that.
good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash,
She never
Thank
released the
you.
Epstein files, like the actual real ones.
thank you, Cash.
No, I want them released.
Me too.
They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen,
Are you okay?
women are unbelievable people, and we'll never
Bad
forget
guys
them.
never respect the law.
And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice. One year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already
That's not
signed
good.
an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer. And tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law. I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
Oh, well, that's sweet. Texas flag shirt guy lifted him up.
Yeah. This ain't Texas. Ain't no hold'em. Lay cards down.
This kid's like, I don't know what to do.
Like there's like hundreds of people staring at me.
But in 2018,
Yeah.
DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The
That's
doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago.
I love that firm. Cancer is no joke.
I'll tell you what.
Since that time, DJ
Bad
and his
stuff.
dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Oh, that's cute.
Okay, that is actually pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Just stand him on the chair.
Aw.
Thank you, DJ. DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975,
Somebody said he's gonna go make a story time on TikTok about this. The time I became a Secret Service
Reversing this
agent.
trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
It's Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
Elise Stefanik. I have not seen her since like for a while actually. And Josh Hawley.
With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been
Oh.
cheering. How quickly they forget. Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000. And now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby? Good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you.
He keeps telling everybody good luck. You gotta fix this. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
January Littlejohn.
Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology.
Lily.
I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes
Okay, I'm
on
getting
children
tired.
and forever ending the lie that any child
so
is
tired.
trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie.
We're going on over an like what?
Hour and
So
a
our
half.
message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Don't yawn, it'll make me yawn.
Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better?
Wokeness, like being woke, has also been like,
Our service
Co-opted.
members won't be activists and
yeah, like it's
ideologues.
definitely
They will be
been
fighters and
redefined
warriors.
to
They will
be
fight
something it's not.
for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary.
I think
of
it's been
Defense,
defined based on the
congratulations.
most extreme members of the group. You know?
And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I'm
Like,
pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month
began-
in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history
so
of our
it originally started being
What
used
a
in like the
difference.
1930s and 40s, and it originally comes from African American vernacular, and it means like being awake of social injustices,
know, it was
particularly
just a few
racism.
months ago,
But it has
the
since been
results were
turned
exactly
into a
the
thing
opposite.
that
We
deals with
couldn't recruit
LGBTQ
anywhere.
and
We
all
couldn't
this other
recruit.
stuff, when originally it
Now
was
we're
just
having
like
best
being woke
results
means like be aware, like
just
be
about
alert
we've
of
ever
like,
had. What a
you know, how
tremendous turnaround.
people of color,
It's really
specifically
beautiful
African
thing to
American,
see.
are treated
People love our
in
country
different
again. It's very
situations.
simple. They love our
So
country
that's why
and they
when
love
like when I
being
hear them
our
talk about woke,
military
I'm just
again.
like,
So it's a great
I
thing. Thank you
never
very
like
much,
what they
President.
use it as. I never thought of it as that.
Yeah, it's become identified by
We're
its
joined
most extreme
tonight
adherents.
by a
I
young
think.
man, Jason Hart.
People who are like,
knows the weight of
you
that
know,
Call of Duty. Jason's
just
father,
the most
grandfather,
extreme
and great-grandfather
members.
all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a six-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete,
Wow.
they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
Good for him.
That's those AP classes.
Yeah, I'll say.
And Jason,
4.46.
that's a very big deal getting in. That's a
That's
hard one to
wild.
get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets.
That's gonna
Imagine-
suck for him.
Imagine hearing that's how you got accepted from the president at a speech to Congress. Hey, by the way,
That's
got
pretty
in.
cool. Oh, even the chairman of the Joint Chiefs are clapping.
I mean, they're very.
They don't clap for nothing.
I mean, that has to do with them. You know what I mean? Like he's following in
Yeah,
like
no,
their-
it's
yeah.
he's going to West
Thank
Point.
you.
It's They should
Jason,
clap.
you're going
They
to be
should
on the
clap.
lone gray line, Jason.
Your
As
application's been
Commander-in-Chief,
approved.
my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect
Here we go.
our homeland,
Here's
all made in the USA.
a reference to Israel's Iron Dome. He made comments on like, we helped them build it. Why don't we have something like that?
Because our
Ronald
coastline
Reagan
is
wanted
17,000
to
miles
do it long
long.
ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even
Or
close.
something.
But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim? Right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going
What if that
to
kid's application wasn't
resurrect
actually
the
approved? He just said it.
shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military.
As just like a
Oh,
further
that's so sad.
I think he would pick up the phone and be like, let this kid in. As a commander in chief,
no,
I don't
he's
know.
not-
For that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it.
Do you think he's going to do that diplomatically or by military force? Because I think he mentioned military force during his inaugural address, but he
Just
also
today, a
said that he
large
could not
American company
guarantee
announced they
not
are
using military
buying
force.
both ports around the Panama Canal.
I don't know.
Lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and
It's
a couple
wild.
of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the
That's true.
Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco.
He used to call him Little
Now-
Marco.
We know who to blame.
I
if
remember
anything
that.
goes wrong.
He
Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job.
said we know who to blame
Think
if
of it. He
anything
got
goes
100
wrong.
votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99,
Look at him.
but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes. And I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job. Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it.
How would that work if Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands were like, you know what, we're just going to join the UK?
We will keep you safe. We will make you rich.
We
and
would
together,
invade them.
We will take Greenland.
I mean,
to
it's
heights
essentially
like
the
you have
same,
never
like,
thought
parallel.
possible before. It's a very small population, but very,
Yeah.
very large piece of land.
Because
and
Greenland
very,
is
very
owned by
important
what?
for
Norway.
military security.
Denmark.
America is once
Denmark,
again
yeah.
standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
Nice. Lily. Lily. Good girl.
And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown that when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back.
He
our
needs to like
hostages
wrap
from
this up
Gaza.
because this is starting
My
to take
first
too
term, We
long.
achieved one of the most groundbreaking
This
peace
is a very
agreements
long
in
speech.
generations. The
They're not
Abraham
this long.
Accords.
I remember the first time I saw a State of the State address, Pete Ricketts was up there for like 20 minutes. Not even, he was done.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wait, it's over?
This is long.
And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support
He never wants to mention that Russia was the
Ukraine's
aggressor.
defense. With no security,
No, he doesn't. And they were.
no anything.
I think that's why people were so like frustrated with the way he was speaking to Zelensky in the Oval Office. Like,
Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years?
you have so much hatred
Yeah,
toward
you-
this
you
guy,
would say
you know.
Pocahontas
Dude, and
says
it's
yes.
like, yeah, like you would have hatred for the person who invaded your country too.
Yeah.
$2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that.
He said,
They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans.
I think he's trying to beat
But I
Bill
want
Clinton's
to-
record of longest State of the
Meanwhile,
Union.
Europe has sadly spent more money
Oh,
buying
but
Russian oil
why?
and gas
Why?
than they have spent on defending.
How long was Bill
Ukraine
Clinton's?
By far. Think of that.
I don't
They've
know.
spent
Let
more
me Google it.
buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't.
Well,
we're getting
yeah,
along
longest.
very well with them.
An hour and
Lots
28
of
minutes,
good things
49
are
seconds.
happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. That didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful? It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office,
If
I
you
did
want to
just
bow out,
that.
you can. It
And they
doesn't
are
seem
here
like there's an
tonight.
end in sight.
All right, I might bow out.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I will see you later.
Sorry. So he is still going.
To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. Two others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of two great country doctors, we thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their two beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you.
I'm very curious on just like what Usha Vance thinks. I want her to do a sit-down interview with somebody, anybody.
To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his three beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington,
Oh, it looks like
and
some people have been
Concord,
leaving.
to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon. Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country.
Who's still with me in the chat?
Because we are a country of doers, dreamers,
Send a message in the
fighters,
chat
and
if you are
survivors.
still here with me. We
Our
are 2
ancestors
hours and
crossed
9
a
minutes
vast
and 5
ocean,
seconds into this live
soared
stream.
into the
This
unknown
address has
wilderness,
gone
and
on
carved
way
their
longer than I thought it
fortunes
was going to
from
be.
the
I thought it was
rock
going to be
and
like an
soil
hour max, but
perilous,
here we are, 2 hours
very
later.
dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering
Hey, Ray.
Golden
Ray, do you want to
Gate
join me?
Bridge.
Do you want to come on the live
They
stream?
lit the world with electricity, broke free of the
I'm off
force
and
of
on.
gravity,
Well, thank you,
fired
April.
up
I
the
appreciate
engines
it.
of American industry, vanquished the communists.
Let me know if you want to come on, Ray. I'll
fascists,
drop you a
and
link.
Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders
Desiree.
of these
Hey,
pioneers
hello.
who won and
Okay.
built the modern age. These workers who poured their sweat into the
feel like I'm-
skylines of our cities. These
I'm
warriors
trying
who
to
shed their
stay-
blood on fields
Stay
of battle and
engaged.
gave everything
I
they
see that,
had
like, when they
for our
pan and show the
rights
chamber, you
and
could
for
see
our
that it
freedom.
has started to thin out.
Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
Well, that's not going to happen. Elon Musk said that we would have been in Mars by now. Look, see, like, you could see some people gone here, a lot over here.
And through it all, we are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day, we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Dang, they wasted no time getting out of there. You see that? They wasted no time getting out of there. Well, there you guys have it. That was Trump's address to Congress. His first address during his second term. Talked a lot. Honored a lot of people who had lost loved ones, things like, and stuff like that. Took many hits at the Democrats, many hits. As Edward was saying, he didn't think this was the most partisan State of the Union address that he has seen. But, you know, he talked a lot about the things that he wants to do, lowering cost, X, Y, Z. However, his executive orders and the tariffs aren't lining up with that. You know, it's not lining up with what he's saying that he wants to do. I mean, I don't necessarily see how this trade war that is about to pop off, and he said there's going to be a retaliatory one on April 2nd because he's superstitious, if they retaliate. So, I mean, Justin Trudeau said that they're going to start looking into possibly shutting off energy to the U.S. because they need to feel all that's going on. So, we'll see what happens. You know, this didn't seem very much so like a, you know, I will be a president for all, I'll do this for all the people. This was very much so like, dang, look at Amy Coney Barrett. She looks like she's sad to be there. Justice Kagan too. Other folks were missing. But I don't know. He kept talking about making America great, all of this stuff. I'm still waiting to see how this is going to line up with the things that he's doing, because it doesn't seem very conducive. So yeah, members of Congress there, speaking to him, taking photos. These are Republican members of Congress. Well, let me know in the comments what your guys' thoughts are. What were your main takeaways from all of this? Keep the conversation going. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see y'all in the next one. I always lose track of where this outro thing is. I need to reorganize this better. But yeah, oh yeah, I do want to talk about at the beginning they kicked a member out because he was standing up being disruptive. They gave him a warning, but he still, you know, stood up and was disruptive, so they had the sergeant of arms remove him. But as you saw, as the speech went on, people started to kind of just filter out because it was taking quite some time. Marjorie Taylor Greene in her hat, Nancy Mace taking her photos. But yeah, you know, I'm curious to see like how this trade war pops off and what's going to happen. Somebody said something interesting, like, hey, like if you're going to attack China, Mexico, and Canada, what if the three of them just link up and kind of make their own type of trade agreement? A lot of things that people can feel are fruits and vegetables at the grocery store. I know a lot of people, that was a huge driving factor, right, for this past election cycle. A lot of people concerned about the cost of living, the cost of food, just the cost to exist in this country has become so expensive. And these trade wars, specifically for groceries, are going to cause prices to spike for people. And then you'll see things such as homes, right? They talked about how they want to build more homes, but that's going to become much more expensive because a lot of timber and building supplies come from Canada. I'm trying to see where the sense is going to start adding up on how these trade wars or these tariffs are supposed to help the economy and the consumers, the American consumers, and lower prices, but it doesn't seem like any of this is conducive to that. If anything, it's just going to cause prices to spike. And Justin Trudeau did say, like, addressing Trump directly during his press conference, this is very dumb to do. And so we'll just see how it all kind of plays out. Mexico is also going to have retaliatory tariffs, and we're going to see what China is going to do. I believe they already have retaliatory tariffs that they're going to put in place. All this ends up doing is increasing costs of everything for the consumers. And it's going to have devastating impacts on all the economies. Like the Canadian economy is going to be harmed greatly by this. And so Justin Trudeau did say, you know, the federal government and the local government will be here for you. This is going to be hard on Canadians and our people. So we'll see. I'm very curious to see if they will actually shut off the electricity, because if they shut off the electricity to the northern states and we have to divert energy from other spots in the grid, that's going to overwhelm things. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like...
The chair declares the joint session of the two houses now dissolved.
I mean, if you want to talk about, like, the northern states, right? New York, big states. Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota... Right, so like kind of like the states up there that receive clean energy from Canada, because we import energy from Canada, if you didn't know. And if they shut that off because of these tariffs, there's going to be a lot of people left in the dark. And so we'll see how that all plays out. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening to our commentary and analysis. Be sure to give the stream a like, share, and comment your thoughts below. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and please hit the subscription button and turn on post notifications. It is the easiest way to support, and it is completely free to just subscribe and turn on post notifications. That helps with the algorithm and helps further the content. So I will see you guys in the next live video that will be relatively soon. I really want to get back into the swing of streaming. So yeah, peace. Thank y'all.